good day for a BWS to finally pop up on this channel. So if you know, you know, Yamaha ZUMA PREBUG, or if you want to say BWS because this one is from Canada. I'm not even going to try to explain all the models of these because I can't say I know exactly everything about them, but there is an MBK booster which is made overseas for other countries, which is pretty much a Yamaha PREBUG, but it actually isn't at the same time. It's like the same motor, but the frame is actually a little bit different how the plastics mount on, so it's not just the plastics that are different. It's actually a lot of little differences here and there. Now this is the Canadian version of the regular Yamaha ZUMAs, which we have right here, all the US models. This is the Canadian version, which is basically the BWS. Now these are pretty much identical. Also has gray innards, which the innards aren't on right now, which I have never seen on PREBUG on the colorway. So gray innards here, which is weird, which as a black top headset. I don't know if that's period correct or that's a replacement panel that was put on, but you see it at the gray floorboard and the under panel as well. I thought for sure that these models came with the taillight pre-cut out on the plastics, but I guess not. So it actually has like a standard looking US spec taillight for it. And we got the different cluster, obviously in kilometers. So it has 4,000 kilometers on it. I want to say kilometers are almost like half. So this thing only has probably like 2,000 miles on it. She's clean. So as of right now, it has a stock pipe on it. Stock carb, stock intake. It looks like it's leaking really bad back there. But the guy said he put a Polini kit on it. This bike looks like it's been sitting in the garage, so it's really good condition. We got a little Canadian sticker right there. Original owner's manual, and then it came with all these parts too. Now, when I went to go pick this up, this was a crazy deal. The homie Andrew DM'd me and basically was like, yo, I'm moving. I have a PREBUG and a bunch of parts for it, and it's yours if you want it. And I was like, of course I want it. I didn't ask any questions. Went to go scoop it up, then realized we got a BWS here. And he mentioned, he was like, yeah, the parts I have for it, a lot of them are brand new. I didn't realize he meant he had this much brand new parts for it. This is crazy. So this is an interesting pipe. I've never seen one of these. It looks like a China version of an Aero pipe for a Honda Elite because this bracket just looks kind of cheesy. Never seen one. It could be a good pipe for all I know. I don't know. We might try running it just for the fun of it. But we got some Polini kit of rollers here with the shells and everything, like the Stage 6 kit. An unopened Polini adjustable clutch, springs, jets, unopened Stage 6 variator, brand new Throttle carb. Then the stock cylinder, which is in here. That means the new cylinder's on there, which we gotta check out. New JDM tail for it, and a brand new malossi belt. So, and I'm stoked to have a real, genuine BWS now. So, we're gonna clean this thing up. But first things first, I think I want to take it all the way down, pull the cylinder off, just to make sure. You know, I don't want to just kick it over a bunch, and then who knows? There might not even be a C-clip in there. I'm not saying I don't trust the guy, but he said it wasn't running right now, so I'd rather just take that extra measure. So I'll probably end up just pulling the whole frame off. Is this thing dirty? Probably doesn't look like it on camera, but like, it's got a good amount of dirt on it. Like, you can't even see the true color of this thing. Just how dusty it really is. I guess you can see it back there. But we'll pull the panels off, we'll clean this thing up, and then we'll pull the motor out. We're going to go ahead and check this thing out, and if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. So I'm just going to go ahead, yank the motor out because it's easier to work on it, and I want to clean everything up really good anyways. We'll get a solid look at everything, check out all the crank seals, check out the crank itself, and let's just do it. Let's get it done, boys. Also, oil tank delete, and we'll be able to move a few things around and clean it up a little bit. So we'll get started. First thing we're doing is the brake, because I always forget to do the brake until I'm yanking out the motor. We're learning here. We're just doing this all POV style right now, boys. We gotta get this thing down to bones so we can clean it good. Get all this junk out of here. Come in here, do the oil pump delete. You can't do that until you take the cylinder off. Big ugga dugger for this bad boy right here. Jeez. Pull the back wheel off and everything else is good to go. So now it's time to power wash this thing. We'll probably pull the starter out. Definitely doing an oil pump delete, so we're gonna power wash all that out. But it is dirty in here, boys. It is actually crazy how dirty it is. So put a little exhaust walk-off plate on so when we power wash it, we don't get anything up the cylinder. And then we also did one on the intake, this little plug I found, and I just clamped it. It fit perfect in there. So now we can power wash the crap out of this because this thing is just bad, dude. Well, boys, it was not easy, but we got the wheel off. Super dry rotted tire. You can see all the cracks in the tire going all the way around when you step on it. It's actually bad. So luckily I have a few extra PREBUG tires that we'll just be able to throw on there. But look how dirty this is in here. Jesus, dude. It is so caked up back there. So we're gonna take some of this good old stuff right here, this super clean, let it soak in there, and then we'll come in here with the power washer and get it real nice and clean. Change the tire, and then we'll pull the cylinder off, check everything out, throw it all back together, probably run it with this bore. So hopefully everything goes well. We'll have this thing running in no time. It's gonna be nasty. This is gonna be a nasty one. Alright, she's all cleaned up, but we have to clean her again because I didn't have the CVT open when we did last time. So there's a lot of oils and just junk all built up still inside of here. So, but we took the starter out, got everything, you know, labeled and put in bags, keep all the OEM parts in their own box. Cleaned up, but we're gonna go ahead and pull the cylinder off now. So pop the plug out, pull the cylinder off, take a look at everything. Mostly check the crank. It looks like it's for sure stock crank. Oof. Well, no sealant there. That's not too uncommon to not see sealant on the head, and especially when it's an O-ring one. I just kind of do it just to be extra, but oh no. Oh no. Look at that. Tell me what you see wrong here. Tell me what you see wrong here. That makes sense probably why I never ran, but he put the 70 kit on, and he has the arrow on the top of the piston, which is supposed to point towards the exhaust port, pointing towards the intake, which is a no bueno. So that explains a lot right there. Let's see how we're looking underneath. Oh, no sealant. No sealant on the base gasket. For a Contessa, this looks pretty good quality though, actually. On the actual porting of the inside and everything. I've seen my courses come way more messed up than that. Alright, so I decided I'm going to send it with the Contessa bore on the stock crank. I've never run a stock crank on a PREBUG with a kit on it. I've always just upgraded the crank right away because these cranks aren't known to be that strong. But hey, we got this thing for free, so why not just send it, you know? So we got this bore. We're going to put some new Honda Bond on it since I didn't have any. Throw the base gasket on, seal it all up. I also just ordered an intake and a carb for it, so we should be getting those here in a couple days. So then we'll have because it had stock intake on it right now, just some upgraded reeds, but it had stock intake on it and a stock carb. So ordered another CP21, you know, the usual, and we'll throw it all together and get this thing running at least. We got some builds stacking up. You'll see more here in the future, but we got some parts in for the BWS, so we're gonna go ahead and open it up. These should be pretty much, I think, all we'll need to get this thing running. What we got here? What we got? Damn. Oh yeah. I did forget about this though. We got ourselves a good old Zuma side kickstand, so we don't have to run the one that attaches to the motor. Most of the time, because when you do run the one that attaches to the motor, you have issues with it actually hitting your exhaust pipe when you run aftermarket pipes. So it's just easier to get rid of it right away and just do the side stand because you have to weld it on, and I have it all apart at this moment. So, you know, why not do it now than worry about it messing up my pipe later on, or rattling, etc., etc. Got a couple exhaust gaskets because we really need one bad on this Zuma, and we'll need one on here as well. We got ourselves a Polini CP21 carb, the good old CP21. Slap it on pretty much every single Zuma I have. The Elites I run a little bit bigger carbs, and I got smart carb. Anyways, Zuma CP21 right out the box. Usually you can throw it right on and it's good to go. You don't even really have to upjet it usually. If you're running 72K, you can usually just throw that straight on out the box and it's good to go. So, love those CP21s. And of course, stage 6 Manny. So this thing didn't have a manifold on it. It was running the stock manifold. That wasn't going to work for us. So we got ourselves a big stage 6 manifold to go to also. I actually ran a Polini one on the blue one. And for some reason, I feel like the stage 6 one is better. All right, we can finally test the pressure check the engine now. Make sure it holds air. So we'll go ahead and pop open our new manifold. Throw that bad boy on so we can throw our air leak tester on. Went ahead and swapped some carbon reeds into here because I had some laying around. Now we're going to go ahead and throw that bad boy on. Well, actually, throw this bad boy on with the gasket. Seal that up with some Honda Bond. And then throw this bad boy on as well. And we're going to be using this one. Get it lined up. Quick little pressure checker test. So we got it all on there. Let it seal overnight with the new intake and everything. We got our pressure checker on there now, bolted in as well. So we're just trying to hold 6 psi. This pump doesn't hold air, so we'll have to like put it up a little bit higher, and then it's a little bit higher than 6, but she's holding there, boys. It's looking like we don't have any leaks on this motor. It's a very good sign. We'll let it sit there for like 5-10 minutes and make sure, but that's looking like a pretty good sign. We're not seeing anything moving on there. Motor air leak down test went perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the motor back in because we're going to throw on that kickstand that I have. It'll just be easier to do it with the motor in so I can see where everything lines up. So before I put the motor in though, I need to put this back wheel back on. And this back wheel was so stuck. So we're going to make sure we clean this axle a bunch. And before we throw it all back together, change the tire. Dry rotted in here as well. So we'll go ahead and throw a new one on. Look at that. Completely dry rotted. Luckily, we got a bunch of new ones on standby. Throw a new one in there and then we'll go ahead and throw the tire on. Alright, got our BWS roller, I guess you would say here, what's about to be a roller. Throwing the wheel on, roll this motor in, mount it up, that way I can kind of maneuver it better to weld this kickstand on and figure out where I need to put the kickstand at. Alright, just found where I was mounting my kickstand at. Threw a little tack on there right now. And threw a tack on that little piece. And we got it pretty much exactly where I want it to be. So now I'm going to come in here and actually weld it on. So kickstand's in there, motor's in there. Now it's time to come in here, take this cluster off. I'm going to go ahead and pull these blinkers off as well. But most importantly, we're going to take the cluster off so I can run my temp gauge and my tack. I've been going in on this bike. Ran all the wires correctly, got everything hooked up for our temp and our tack gauge. Got them hanging up here until I put the headset on, but I don't want to put the headset on until I get a throttle cable. Pretty much a throttle cable is all we're waiting on right now. Otherwise I'll be able to put the floor on, put the carb on, put everything on, and but I don't want to have to take all this off to run the throttle cable again. Last thing I'm going to do, since we're going with the JDM taillight, is to cut this out. We've done it like 20 times now on this channel, but we take a Dremel, we pretty much follow this whole line, and then that way it'll cut out so you don't have to run the big tail light that comes on the rack, like so. One of these right here. So just gotta cut that little plastic out and then we'll be able to wire that in, which I've shown in its whole own video. Alright, so I got all the connectors I needed to do for the tail light piece. Now we just gotta go through, plug everything in. I already got an idea of what is what, because I've done this so many times pretty recently too. Alright, so the battery that's in it right now is completely toasted, even hooked up to my charger. But you can see we at least got the taillight hooked up, and then watch this. She fits in there perfect. We got the taillight hooked up, everything hooked up. So now literally all we gotta do is run a throttle cable. We could throw on the floorboard, throw on our backboard, And I ran these already for our temp and our tack. I just need to get some double sticky tape to be able to put it to the cluster, put that on, but I don't want to put the cluster on until I get the throttle cable ran. I just don't want to take everything off twice, but other than that, I can throw the gas tank back in, new fuel lines, and this thing should be ready to fire up. So I think this is what we're going to call it on this video. We got the first introduction to the bike and completely rebuilt the whole engine, and got it back to a rolling body. Next time you see this thing, hopefully we're riding it, doing some wheelies on it, and much more, but I'm very stoked on this. This was definitely a one-of-a-kind type of find, and a free scooter with it being a BWS is just mind-blowing. So that's going to do it for this one. Make sure you guys are subscribed to follow along with the build and more on this scooter and much more builds in the future. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.